disregard they think we would render to them if we punted this meeting. Oh, we're starting taping. Okay, so we're now looking at the time and the fact that a great number of the people here with regard to the Wade Road residential lot bylaw change, and we want to hear fulsomely from all of you. We thank you, apologize to you for the fact we're at 10:04. And if you are adamant and earnest that we continue with this public meeting, I'll call the meeting to order, but I do know that you've lost a good number of your constituent representation, and we will have to find a time for another meeting, because if we don't want it to happen during March break when people are away, but we will have to find some time that is suitable. As the OMB has adjourned the meeting, we're not under pressure to have it done by any certain date. We would advise and work with Phelps as well on going back to the OMB when the public meeting has been heard. So I'm looking to all of you to say, are you okay that we postpone this? Okay, because the members around this table are certainly comfortable in finding another date, which would mean then that we would advise you all so you can all be here. And it would be, I can assure you, it will be the first public meeting on the evening's agenda. If it's not the only one. How's that? I can only say that it's with regret that the committee is faced with this position, but I think you've sat through the other two public meetings and you can see how complex the issues were. So to not give them full fairness, you'll get the same kind of treatment when your item comes back to us. We can assure you of that. All right. So then, by consensus from the members of committee and the representation from the public to whom this was most worrisome, we will adjourn the meeting. The public hearing will not commence, a public meeting, and we will reschedule it for an appropriate time where all members from the public, from Phelps, etc., can be here. Many ways, probably. Yes. All right, you've all signed up. You signed the sheet? That's great. Yes, thank you for your patience. Thank you for being the audience. I'm sure all of you are just want of running for council come this fall election. Thank you. Take care. Okay, so members of committee, my friends in the clerk's department have suggested that the first thing I do would be in order to go past 11 o'clock with the hope that we don't have to use it. So I need someone to move. Councillor Bylsma, Councillor Bell, moving to go beyond past 11. And comments? Aside from the Olympics and the good doctor, I see none. So all in favor? That motion carries. Okay. Okay. So after all of that, I'm going to go back to the original agenda and the items that we've now gone past the public meetings. We do have an appointment from Mr. Vince Renda. I assume that that's what he did. So I just wanted to make sure I have not taken away his right to speak to us. So moving right along, the request to address items on the agenda. Seeing none. The consent agenda items, we have 6. There is the Heritage Committee minutes of August the 1st, Multi-Municipal Wind Turbine Working Group minutes of December the 14th. There's an information report with regard to the Greenbelt expansion, public consultation document, protecting water for future generations, and the information report for PD 019-18, the proposed methodology for land needs assessment for the Greater Golden Horseshoe, and recommendation report number PD 024-18, 2018 Niagara Orthophotography Project. That's a project with the region. And 6 is the recommendation report PD 028-18 for John Verdunk, authority to assign a development agreement as a condition of consent, file number B03/2017 WL. So the recommendation coming out of that is that Planning, Building, Environmental Committee hereby approves the following consent agenda items. Items 1, 2, 3, and 4 be and are hereby received for information. That items 5 and 6 be and are hereby received, and the recommendations contained therein are adopted, with the exception of, I need first a mover and a seconder, and anybody, Councillor Bell, Councillor Gannan. Are there any exceptions to those items? Seeing none, and comments? All in favor? Those motions carry. Okay, we have staff reports, P17-18. Okay, this is a recommendation report that PD 02118 regarding Steve Golfi application for temporary use zoning, file number 1601-002-18 dated February 12th, 2018 be received, and that a recommendation report be presented at a future Planning, Building, Environmental Committee meeting once all agency and public input have been received. I need a mover and a seconder for that. Councillor Bell, Councillor Trombetta. Comments? Oh, you did second that motion, right?
I seconded it.
Okay, now comments. Councillor Trombetta.
Through you, Madam Chair, to Mr. Treble, I just want to ensure that once this, or if it goes through, that we are firm and hold them to a start date and to that 3-year period and commence it as soon as it does go through. And I don't want it to lag longer than 3 years because the residents live with. I think 3 years is a way substantial enough time. Not that I'm opposed that it's too long. I think it's perfect, and I think it's enough time for them to get a home off the ground and into that home. I'd like to see this, that we start the clock as soon as this does get, if it does get approved, through you, Madam Chair, to Mr. Treble.
So tightening up on what is allowed.
Through you, Madam Chair, the clock starts ticking the date council passes the bylaw, assuming they pass the bylaw. So
that would be at council then?
well, that was the one question, if I may, Madam Chair. I know there is a sense perhaps of some timing or urgency to this file. If through discussions with the Golfis we are able to sort out the septic and cistern issues and other issues that may be relevant, do you want us to try and bring forward a planning report sooner than next month, or just follow normal timing?
Councillor Trombetta has the floor. I think you'll get a number of comments. Councillor Trombetta?
I would like it as soon as possible, and the reason is, Madam Chair, through you to Mr. Treble, life conditions take us all over the place. People have different situations. I don't want to get into a situation where there is an issue with this resident and something happens in effect, and then, you know, someone's trying to dwell there and stuff doesn't move on. So the quicker the better, and as soon as possible we can get this off, that would be great for me to see. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Bilsma?
I'm getting a picture of the way that this has gone, and I can imagine, and I can identify with some of the circumstances. Obviously, there was a pregnancy and a baby, and there's a desire to, of course, have a stable home. And so I guess I trust, or I believe their intent is to have, in short order, a house there with no mobile home or trailer. The way that they've situated the trailer is also, and according to the pictures, like right in the driveway. So in other words, the whole point is it's to be temporary. Once the house is up, that trailer has to go. My belief is that they had to take a funny journey to get there, and yes, some of the timing of some of the things has been awry, but the general vision of where this property is going is not of concern to me. I think in the end, and sooner, and as soon as possible, they would like to be in a house and raise their baby like all the rest of us did, in-house with the roof over our heads and a stable foundation underneath us, and not susceptible to tornadoes and those kind of things. I trust that the vision is good. I can overlook some of the, I feel comfortable enough to overlook some of the things. I know that there's going to be a solution. I'm not saying that septic's not important. I'm just saying that if planning, the Golfies, and various other parties that can speak to it can work to an agreement, I'm very comfortable to move this forward as quick as possible. So.
Thank you, Councillor Bilsma. I've got Councillor Bell and then Mayor Joyner.
Through you, Madam Chair. I'm okay moving this forward as quickly as possible, but I would like for Mr. Treble to contact the individuals and just reconfirm that they're willing to sit down as soon as possible, explaining to them what our intent is to help move this through. And if they are, by all means, I support this 100%.
Mayor Joyner?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Again, very impressed, Council. There's a lot of heart around this table tonight. There's a lot of compassion. And as a mayor, that's what I like to see from our council. We have a lot of compassion for these folks' situation. But I'm also willing to say that I would really like to see a full-fledged system, the cistern, the septic bed, put in place and get that process going as soon as possible. As co-chair of Public Health and Social Services for the Niagara region, I would be doing an injustice to all of Niagara if this council was to say, you know, not having a proper septic system in place is okay, because it's not. It's not. There's a lot of things that you need. You need a roof over your head, you need a stable house, but you need a proper septic system. So for that point, I hope that we're very diligent as staff, as I know you will be, in working with these folks and get them to understand that as soon as possible. Like, we have to be very honest with ourselves, councillors. We are giving these folks a lot of leniency. We really are. We're affording them a lot of leniency around this horseshoe tonight. And as I said earlier, I'm impressed with that. There's a lot of compassion here. But I mean, we still have to commit these folks to the same thing that we would commit all of our residents to. So we'll work together with them. Thank you.
Mr. Treble?
Just, Madam Chair, two thoughts. One was, the fact that they've been working on a building permit application since August, I guess says two things. One, I wonder if they thought when they submitted the application in August that they might actually be living in the house by now, and something's gone awry, that the building permit process has become far more complicated than they envisioned. Or alternately, there at least is a commitment to getting a house in place, so that's good news. The other thing that did impress me was the fact that they actually arrived tonight with baby in tow after 2 days, and she was getting out of the hospital yesterday. So, their comment to me was this was important to them, so they were bound they were going to be here. So we will call them and we will make arrangements to see if we can sort this out and get building and them talking as well to see if there is a solution to septic and cistern that complies with the code and gets everything done. And if there is, then you'll have a rec report.
I totally agree with my colleagues. I'm amazed, and I certainly think that when something happens in a community, I still remember barns that burned down, and before the insurance adjuster could get there were so many people would arrive to try and help people both remove burning bales and their livestock to save things, and that's what our community is. But I do agree with the rest of my colleagues that we want it done. We'll give them as much help as we can, but we want the rules followed so that we're not doing the wrong thing for the wrong reason for other people coming forward. So to staff, go forward and tell us what the baby looks like. So, any other comments on that? So I think you've got your direction on that one? Oh, sorry. I apologize. There you go.
Thank
I think I
you.
just phoned the police. No.
Nothing astounding, but I did want to say that in many walks of life, there are different paths to get to the same outcome. And I think that these people are walking a very irregular path, but I don't think that means that it's a wrong path. And so I think that we need to trust that our staff, who do know the correct path and what needs to be done, will be able to give them sort of firm guidance along the way to help them meet the steps that they need to meet as they need to go along. So,
Well
that's all.
said, Councillor Gannan, as were all of your comments this evening. So we have on the table that a recommendation report be presented at a future planning, building, environmental committee meeting once all agency and public input has been received. So I think that leaves you enough Brett's, Mr. Treble, you and your staff to come forward whenever that is ready. So, all in favor? That motion carries. P 18-18, this is with regard to planning report PD 026-18, technical report number 3, zoning bylaw amendment for Shea Jor Gao. The recommendation is that PD 026-18 regarding Shea Jor Gao application for rezoning file number 1601-009-17 dated February 12th, 2018 be received. And that a recommendation report be presented at a future Planning, Building, Environmental Committee meeting once all agency and public comments have been received and reviewed. I need a mover, Councillor Bell, Mayor Joyner. Comments? Councillor Gannan. I went there first. Move the jug.
You moved the jug. Thank you for moving the jug. Through you, Madam Chair. I just have a final comment, and I prepared this too because it sort of went along with my other question. So, and I've saved it for this part of the meeting. So I said, in listening to all the comments being made tonight and having read all of the information through the various reports, both pro and con, I've learned a great deal. The process put in place by Health Canada, which allows those in need to grow a limited amount of medical marijuana for their own needs, and the ability to name a designate to do so if lack of space to grow or lack of physical ability to grow personally, has created a wonderful opportunity provided for those in need of keeping low cost for personal medical marijuana use. That would certainly, when discreetly done, demonstrate respect for their neighbors and their community. I remain extremely conflicted, however, about this proposal. Although by planning guidelines this proposal can be argued as being agriculture related, the very size and scope of the proposal seems excessive. At 20.9 hectares, proposed to include 15 greenhouses and a proposed warehouse at approximately 10,200 square meters, and in addition using the 5 existing accessory buildings and structures that have another 1,052 square meters, even though a floor area, even though we've now been told that may not happen, still seems to be far in excess of what should be necessary to meet the personal needs of 4 people. I would also like to add in conclusion that it seems to me that something of this size and scope of what is being referred to as a medical marijuana production facility would be much more suited to an industrial area than the property at 1374 Port Davidson Road. And I know, Mr. Treble, there was some discussion about some changes, and I'm wondering if you can give us any information about looking at those kinds of changes in the future to our bylaws.
Mr. Treble?
Through you, Madam Chair, staff have been working on the direction that we were given a few months ago with respect to changing the medical marijuana provisions. And Garrett and I have, in fact, been communicating with it as recently as the end of last week. But I sent some material to Sarah Premi for some guidance within the last couple of weeks. And I'm hoping that with her guidance, we can maybe have some recommendations for revisions to the zoning regulations, if not March, then shortly thereafter, for this committee to consider. The struggle I'm having with part of the thinking is the growing of the marijuana crop seems to be consistently agreed that it is in fact an agricultural product or an agricultural crop that's being grown. The processing of it and all of that stuff definitely perhaps leads toward an industrial type use. But do we really want to, this is not a question I'm looking for an answer tonight to, but do we really want to put in place a regulation that says the growing of the medical marijuana must occur in an industrial park? I'm not sure I can envision greenhouses and other industrial parks as an automatic place that they have to relocate. So I'm still struggling in my own head with some of this policy stuff. What I've observed to date, although it was kind of axed by a statement made by Mr. Lewin, Garrett and I have had discussions, and I know a few of the people around the Horseshoe, councillors around the Horseshoe have had discussions as well. The concept of licensed facilities seems to be a totally different standard, a totally different structured grouping of people to be dealing with, much more professional, much more credible. And I'm thinking that might be the right way to go at this thing, to say if you're a licensed facility, we'll talk to you. If you're not a licensed facility, you're small scale, you can do it in your backyard, I don't care. But in between, West Lincoln's not for you. That's kind of where I'm at. I'm just trying to figure out how you put that into regulation and make that work. That's where my head's at.
Okay, I think that's a fair approach. I mean, I think that's true. I think we would be looking at this whole situation differently if they were coming asking for a licensed facility. That's not what they're asking for at all. They're asking for personal growing for 4 individuals. And what they're asking for in order to do what they're asking for is extremely on a larger scale than what it needs to be. However, if they were looking for a licensed facility, then the Health Canada regulations and the rules and whatever are very, very different. And that would change even what their ask would have to be.
Yeah.
So, thank you.
Councillor Billsma, then Councillor Bell.
Thank you very much. I guess.
Oh, sorry. I apologize.
yeah,
I
no,
did say the mayor first.
Go ahead, yep.
I thought I did.
Yeah.
I'll be very quick. A lot of what I wanted to say, Brian had just said, actually. And I don't want this presentation here tonight to taint all of us around this horseshoe in thinking that all medicinal marijuana facilities are the same or are run the same way. Because as what Councillor Gannon said, we'd be feeling and thinking about this a little differently if we were talking about a licensed a facility. And, I've been to a couple medical marijuana facilities, and I've seen some really good systems out there. And you would be very impressed, actually, by a few of them. I just simply want to say that Mr. Gow's lawyer said here tonight that, the people with the licensors, or he called them personal grow registrations, are growing because they have no money. Therefore, they cannot pay a lot of rent. So I guess the question, so why is the applicant building such expensive barns and greenhouses and installing high-tech security for this whole entire process? There's something, and no pun intended, there's something that just really doesn't pass the smell test with this. And I feel for all of you councillors around here, because you've actually had to endure a meeting that I never came to. I can't remember, I think I was sick that night. So I can feel the passion and the frustration, and especially when Councillor Trombetta says, you've wasted our time. I've had enough of you. Bring us, and Madam Chair, you said the same thing, and we all said the same thing around here tonight. Let's bring us a professional project. Tell us, what you're going to do, and don't leave anything out, and be able to answer our questions. So that's kind of my frustration, and I wasn't even here for the last one.
Thank you. Mr. Treble, you wanted to address something there, and I'm going to Councillor Bislin and Bell, and then Councillor Rayner.
Madam Chair, just really briefly, not to give away what a recommendation report might look like, but we've been consulting with OMAFRA staff of late to try and get a sense and a handle on the nature of what we're dealing with before us, and like all of you, we're struggling with the application too. The latest sentiment is even OMAF doesn't understand the nature and scale of this application. It doesn't make sense in their mind either. So we'll investigate more of that, and it'll be part of our recommendation report. But as of right now, even they can't justify the proposal we're dealing with.
Thank you. Councillor Bislin?
Okay, so just 2 quick questions. One to Director Treble. Has it ever happened or occurred that your recommendation report is a non-recommendation? In other words, you would put a recommendation forward to say, we advise council not to support this. Is that a possibility?
Through you, Madam Chair, yeah, it's very possible that
Okay.
we could recommend denial.
And so I guess to
That's
follow.
not a non-report, though, right? That's a denial. You're asking about a denial, or are you asking about a no recommendation?
Well, I'm saying that staff does their investigations, and they come back to us, and they, like a lot of times we can turn down a recommendation report, but if they gave us the opportunity to just approve a non-recommendation,
A negative recommendation.
a negative recommendation.
Okay, sorry,
The staff
'cause I
comes
thought-
forward and says, no, we recommend that council say no.
Gotcha.
Generally, it's in the positive. This is what we've done, and this is how we've worked. But if you can't find reconciliation, it does give us an out in that sense by saying, you know what, we can't make this thing fly. We're not going to. My follow-up question is is this, and this is for our half of the horseshoe, or for this side of the table, where we do actually make the decisions, or the final decisions. And that is, so I think we have enough, I'm comfortable with enough, with the amount of bylaw restrictions, or the restrictions in our bylaws. We can go into analysis paralysis, but we do have a document. So far as our confidence in the applicant telling us the truth, we've sowed a lot of we have a lot of doubt that they're telling us the truth, and that's come to light. So long as they don't meet our concerns with regards to our bylaw, we have an out. So we're in this lawyer, maybe he's slick, he knows ins and outs. If we give him, if we don't give him enough, how you say, we have to cover our butts. I think we need to cover our butts in terms of, we have to have good, solid reasons why we're not going to go with a recommendation report coming forward. Because there is a sense in which this is becoming legal in Canada. And I'm struggling with this. I have my opposition to it, but, you know, we have to abide by the laws of the land. So far as they don't abide by our bylaws, we've caught them growing in advance. We don't think that they're telling us the truth, because the size of this is far greater than 4 people can use, and a bunch of other things. I think we can safely turn this down. And if it goes to an OMB, we can say we were skeptical that they were telling us the right information or the truth. They started in advance, hence we turned them down. Simple, plain. The OMB is going to look at that and say, yeah, it was legitimate that you turned it down, we're going to uphold. I don't know. I don't know how the OMB thinks. Maybe it's irrelevant in a couple of years.
Councillor Bilsma, I don't want to cut you off because you get concerned about that, but I just want to say that there's a lot of what ifs. It's a crapshoot when you go to the OMB.
Yep.
And all of those suppositions are suppositions on your part. So if you'd like to frame it that way, I'm fine.
I'm just saying that I think we can comfortably, on this recommendation and any future recommendations, unless something comes squeaky clean with all, and the mayor alluded to properly licensed grow-ops that have all their T's crossed and I's dotted, until we see an application come that looks like that, then maybe we really on the horns of a dilemma, a personal crisis and you know, conscientious objection. But at this point, this one's a no-brainer. There's so much holes in that, and and other applications may follow that have equally holes, and we can just say, you know what, I have my doubts that we're even getting the truth, and so it's easy for us to turn it down. So I don't think we necessarily have to spend great gobs of time tweaking our bylaw or other things. If it doesn't smell right, doesn't pass the smell test, and we can identify a couple areas that I think we're all comfortable to turn that down. But staff has that same report, which is why I asked my first question, can they recommend a non-report? They are free to do that. That'd be great. And then we can approve a non-report, a non-recommendation.
Councillor Bilsma, I just want to make it real clear. Our staff did not say they would bring forward a negative report. They said that they can do negative or positive reports. A non-report is no answer.
Sorry.
If you come forward and say,
that was
you're
a
a
wrong-
non-report, I was waiting for you to say that our staff would come and say, we don't know what the heck to do. Here you go, guys.
No, a
well, that's
negative
a
report.
non-report.
Yeah,
a
sorry.
negative report is something that has happened here many times. So it wouldn't be a first.
Okay, great.
So the thing
Glad to
is,
hear it.
we have not had a commitment from our staff. I want to make that really clear. We are still in an open process, and I'm not being critical of what it is you've had to say, but I do have to set the record straight. We do not have a commitment from any of our staff to write a negative report. They are going to think about everything, and they're going to bring forward a report. Okay? And then we can do with it what the heck we want. Turn
Correct.
it down, put it up. But I think the press, I think many around this horseshoe would be very happy to hear what it is that you've suggested and you presupposed occur, but they are not putting that forward at this time because that's not maybe what they feel is appropriate. So we gotcha, we understand.
Yep.
And staff will be coming back with a report at the appropriate time. And Councillor Bell.
Through you, Madam Chair. We had a speaker talk to us. She mentioned a bylaw in Kelowna, BC, dealing with
Smell.
marijuana,
Smells.
medical marijuana grows.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it, Ms. Jansen. I just wonder if, I know staff has lots of time, so maybe they could just kind of look it up, and I'd like to see what she was referring to in there. She wasn't clear, but she said they had some stuff in there that we may want to look at, so if possible, I'd like to maybe have a look at it, because we are looking to put some more teeth in our bylaw going forward, so that we only have to deal with proper medical marijuana facilities, not fly-by-nighters. So, just an ask.
It's an ask
Thank you.
from Counselor Bell. You don't need anything more than that direction to just kind of take a look.
Yeah, through you, Madam Chair, we will investigate. The rules of BC are slightly different, so whether it applies here or not, we'll try and figure it out.
They've always been kind of different. I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you, Counselor Bell. Counselor Rayner.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just to summarize, the discussion was that this facility appears to be much larger than the 4 critically ill people seem to need. And the part that just doesn't add up, they are also unlimited abilities to pay. So why is this individual spending so much money to provide something that obviously they're not going to pay back a return on his investment? The only other way to look at it is he's making it of such a size that it appears that that's the reason he wants to go after it, but that's not the reason he's doing it, because obviously the 4 critically ill have a limited budget, and the massive amount of money that he's putting in for the investment, he must be thinking of getting a return some way, shape, or form, and it's certainly not going to be for those 4 individuals. So on top of the fact that we've had 4 public meetings, all of them extremely poorly, unprofessionally attended by the people who want this thing, just creates more suspicion as we go on. So I agree with Councillor Belsma that there is the option down the road that that could be the decision. But at this point, I think the hearings, as Director Brian Treble said, I think the message is clear from the public, and I can't see the reason for any more public hearings at this time. Thanks.
Thank you. I'd just like to add that I think that the thinking that our director has come forward with about the different kinds of possible facilities and where they should be and what they should be are something we should look at as we proceed forward. And I do think what would be my own personal view is that I think we should look at that bylaw. It's been 4 or 5 years since it was done, and the world has certainly taken a change. So I'd like to do that. And I think the mayor made a good point. I don't know if it was heard by all, but that we need to sit down. We need to do some schoolwork on this too. Certainly Councillor Canaan and some of my colleagues to the right were stars tonight. But that's because Councillor Canaan has a pocket full of those little stars as a former teacher, you know. But and I commend all of the comments that have been made by all members of council. But I think we need to do some homework. We need to really get involved and understand what it is that's happening there, so that the fit of what it is, either for future greenhouses or where these facilities should be, we all need to know what they look like and where they would best be suitable in this community. You know, if all else fails, I think the mayor has gone to a number of conferences. I think members of council have. I know I've been at a few where we have the ear of people who do this legislation. And what we've learned is that if that's the way you want the legislation to be, but here's some of the implications of what's going on. And if we know nothing more other than to do that in our crusades as we go to conferences throughout this year, I think we can point out the gaping holes that they may wish to continue with and not listen to us, but we can at least voice our concerns. So I think we've got our work cut out for us regardless, inside and outside of the municipality. Further comments? So we'll look forward. So on the table, we have that a recommendation report come forward. I've read the recommendations. Do you need them read again? Yeah. Okay. So all in favor? That motion carries. Number P19-18, we did not do the public hearing, and I believe we postponed that and this report to another day. Correct? And that will be resolved by our staff, and we'll go forward with a advising the public and the proponents before that meeting is held. Mr. Treble first, and then Mayor Joyner.
So, Madam Chair, I'm just curious, do we need a referral motion to send the report back to staff, or?
Okay. At the appropriate moment, we'll do that. Or is that what you wanted to do, Mayor Joyner?
No, I was going to do something else, actually, but I don't believe that we need a referral. I'll ask the clerk.
It was undealt with. It was pulled.
Yeah.
You can do whatever you want. If you want, whatever you want, if you want a motion, we'll do that before we entertain any comments from members of council. If you're okay with us withdrawing the report, someone withdrawing it. I think we've withdrawn it. It's not been dealt with. We'll bring it back as soon as possible once a date has been decided. Okay? So it's appropriate now. Mayor Joyner.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to publicly apologize to the fine folks from Wade Road and from Phelps Homes. I understand that, both were here tonight, but unfortunately, some planning meetings just happened to go on longer than others, and it was a very passionate meeting, and I think we did the right thing. It's always important to do the right thing, and I think we did the right thing by sending everybody home, postponing and bringing this back another day. I think it was the best part.
Thank you. I think you're right. They all appreciated that they were able to go find their friends. Councillor Reiner, did you want to say something?
No,
Oh.
I agree with the mayor. It was an unfortunate situation, but I think the people in the gallery that seen what was going on with the other presentations realized that we will do the same amount of attention to their concerns as we did to the others. And I think maybe they left a little disappointed, but they also, I think, left feeling that when this comes back, it will be attended to the detail that it deserves.
I agree.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so that one was withdrawn, deferred, whatever the appropriate language that the clerks will appropriate to it. P20-18 is a recommendation report regarding a zoning bylaw amendment for temporary use 2090754 Ontario Inc. Oh, we did that one. That's right. P21-18 is a recommendation report regarding downtown Smithville Sustainable CIP Commercial Facade Improvement Funding Program and awarding of funding approvals to 5 projects. So the recommendation is that PD 010-18 regarding downtown Smithville Sustainable CIP Commercial Facade Improvement Funding Program and awarding of funding approvals to 5 projects for 2017 dated February 12, 2018 be received. And that the 5 funding applications received by October 6, 2017 deadline and as outlined in this report be endorsed at a total cost not exceeding $16,000 to be expensed to the CIP implementation account upon satisfactory completion of the work, and that the region of Niagara be informed that the regional portion, should all projects proceed forward in a satisfactory manner, is no greater than $16,000, and that the applicants be advised that their applications are eligible for funding with the requirement that they meet the township staff and provide documentation as outlined in this report prior to commencing of any work, and that the mayor and clerk be and are hereby authorized to sign the necessary agreement to partner with each of the applicants for all approved facade improvements, and that the director of planning and building be and is hereby authorized to release the funding once all projects have been completed to the township satisfaction. Sorry. Where did I get that word from? I need a mover for that one, Councillor Bell and Councillor Ganaan. Mayor Joyner, comments.
Madam Chair, a quick comment. As you know, one of these locations on Griffin Street, I believe, is a business that has a sports store in it called Kalinka Sports. I am not an owner of the business. That is my 2 brothers, and they do not own the store. That store is owned by Mrs. Cynthia Merritt in town. So for that reason, I will not be declaring conflict of interest because they do not own the store, and I am not an owner. Thank you.
Thank you. Nothing? Okay. So, the motion is put before you. No other comments? All in favor? That motion carries. Thank you. Recommendation report regarding site alteration permit 2017 regarding 7402 Mud Street. And this recommendation is that site alteration permit 2017-7402 Mud Street dated February 12, 2018, be received, and that Township Council hereby receive this application, instruct staff to circulate notice in accordance with the site alteration bylaw 2016-41 to all property owners within 120 meters of the property at 7402 Mud Street prior to ratification by Township Council, and that any comments be provided by the public to committee on or by March 12th, 2018, prior to committee giving consideration to this permit request. I need a mover and a seconder. Councillor Bell, Councillor Ganaan. Comments? Seeing none, all in favor? That motion carries. Thank you. I have a recommendation report regarding an authorization to enter into a pre-servicing agreement with Mars Homes, Smithville Station, Inc. Recommendations are that PD 030-18 regarding authorization to enter into a pre-servicing agreement with Mars Homes, Smithville Station, Inc., dated February 12th, 2018, be received, and that a bylaw be passed to authorize the mayor and clerk to sign a pre-servicing agreement to permit the installation of the storm sewer on the former Dunville Spur Line lands as prepared by Township Legal Counsel. Mover and a seconder for that, Councillor Bell, Councillor Bilsma. Comments? Mayor Joyner.
Thank you. I'm very glad to see this come forward because, quite honestly, I'm tired of some of the flooding issues that are happening on this property that are moving southward onto Regional Road 20, and especially in the wintertime. Now with the thaw coming in the spring and, you know, the thaw, the freeze, it's a very dangerous situation having excess amounts of water on Regional Road 20 and the sidewalks adjacent to Regional Road 20. So I'm very happy to see this happen. When will the timing be to start doing the services?
Mr. Treble.
Through you, Madam Chair, I have a meeting, Brent and I have a meeting, Mr. Julian and I have a meeting, my apologies, scheduled for Wednesday this week. I think it's Wednesday this week with Mr. Chirella to get more detail and timelines and the whole bit. So the engineering work is done. It's just a matter of getting the agreement from Mr. Richardson, getting it signed and proceeding forward, I believe. So hopefully sooner than later.
Good, yep.
Through you to Mr. Treble. Mr. Treble, I might be going into site plan here a little bit, but there is a storm water management pond on the property. Will this property have fencing around it too as well, like all the other storm water management ponds throughout West Lincoln?
Through you, Madam Chair, the engineering review is occurring for one final time right now, but I believe, yes, there is fencing required around the storm pond.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
See, any other comments? Seeing none, I just want to ask, if it's a dry pond, do we require fencing? Because some ponds are just basically there, and they're used for soccer fields and stuff in other municipalities.
Through you, Madam Chair, this one isn't designed that way. This
No,
one.
but if it was a dry pond, would we require fencing? Okay, it's a question for another day. It's
Yeah, I'm not sure I
10:47.
can answer that tonight, Madam Chair.
Maybe you could bring that back sometime. Sorry,
Sure.
Mr. Councillor Rayner. It can, yeah, it's. No, no, other municipalities don't fence them. They use them regularly for soccer and football and various other, basketball. It's the 100-year storm or the million years.
They're usually shallow, they're usually large, 8
Yeah.
inches, but only
Yeah.
6 inches deep.
Yes, in front of the Costco, that's right.
It's waist high or higher. The next week?
Yeah. But there's many of those kinds of dry ponds around, and so I'm just wondering, when the mayor asks, is it going to be fenced? It would be because it intends to be wet. So I just want to make sure that you've got other types in your mind. Okay. So apologize for that distraction. Did everyone get their questions answered? Okay. I'm working towards the 11 o'clock unnecessary. I know. All right. We have a Public Realm Investment Program, PRIP application. Oh, did we not vote on that thing? Oh, you're right. Okay. All in favor? That motion carries. Okay. No distractions over here. Other business. This is a verbal update from, I imagine, Mr. Treble. Yes, it says Brian Treble. Public Realm Investment Program. Pardon me. Mr. Treble.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll keep this brief, but the CIO and I want to have some discussion. The done the first 2 years of prep is the theme of building Advisor tomorrow will be applying for money to,
I guess he didn't hear what you said.
to work on downtown Smithville, streetscape improvements, which included lighting, interlocking brick, and park benches, and all of that kind of stuff in front of the stores downtown up to the Royal Bank. That was your one application. We got some money for that. Last year, we applied for some of the work on Station Street, but we didn't actually get funding through for that. We got funding for the parquet material in front of the community parking lot at the United Church, the banners, and a Seasons Greeting sign that was yet to be delivered. So that was last year's funding. To keep in the same vein, this year's funding would be sort of year 3 of building Fiber Tomorrow, which is Confusion Corner and West Street. But timing-wise, the region has pulled back on their work, so it only made sense to pull back on our streetscape work to tie that with what the region's work is going to be. So there's 3 potential applications for PRIP for this year, but they're not in the Building a Vibrant Tomorrow theme as you know it. So with that background, Garrett, can you report the plans for downtown? Cal Doon has put together a concept plan at a high level for the redevelopment of the CIBC parking lot lands at the main intersection with St. Catherine Street and Brock Street, right? So that corner is the concept that Cal Doon has put together. And I think there's a series of different images that have been put together from different angles. It includes community areas, picnic tables, flag poles, opportunities for community event, even approaching the parking lot, plus some trees and a raised elevated area down in the bottom corner. It reconfigures the parking in the public area. We do lose 3 public spaces, public parking spaces. I need that to be on the record in this concept. But it reorients everything in a more efficient fashion. So this is the one application that I guess staff are thinking is not a bad concept, quite attractive, quite effective in the downtown core, and some nice improvements in that area. We're still high level. We don't have all the intricate details in terms of how much granular and how much pavement and all of that stuff will have to be done. But we do have a kind of a high level number from a budget perspective that we think should work, but we wanted to go in just a bit more to be sure before we finish an application. So this is one concept. The other concept that is out there, and I think a few of the councillors around this table have heard about it on more than one occasion. The schools on Smithville Road, being led by Marlene Bergsma, I think approaching councillors about a potential opportunity to partner with them on all tennis courts and frisbee golf. I think that was the 3 different pieces. And what they had been asking us to consider there was an entrance feature. This is still very rough and high level as well, but this is the sidewalk in front of the proposed tennis court, which is to the west of the high school on Smithville Road. Sort of a gateway, an entrance feature to draw people into a public opportunity to utilize the tennis courts for pickleball and all of that kind of stuff. So opportunity for the public. And I think the councillors may not have seen this sort of concept, but we've had discussions, I believe, at least in email, about what her thinking is. So that's another prospect. Although as of today, CIFO and I came to realize that they're not just asking for money from the township to do the gateway feature or whatever it is out of the street to draw people in. They're also now apparently looking for someone to assist with the construction of the tennis courts in addition to this feature. So staff have kind of a concept of this in our budget as well. So we're looking, I think, for some direction in terms of whether we go forward with both of these. The other one that I believe is going to be applied for is some money from PRIP for the wanting some direction in terms of, are we interested in both so that we can proceed forward with funding applications for both, knowing that you're not necessarily committed to the budget monies yet, or what? Or see it as some comments to add to that.
Certainly. Ms. Langley?
Through you to members of the committee, when we first put this item on the agenda, it was our understanding that they were looking for money for the entrance feature. The concern that I had was applying for PRIP money and getting approved and putting forward a project that is, I think, perhaps being done ahead of the fields that are in the back. So my concern was that if we got approval and we weren't prepared to proceed because we didn't secure the fields in the back end of the project, then that wasn't very good idea, good planning. So we brought it forward to you. Only today did we determine that they also are looking for funding for these fields, which would be the tennis court, which we had a tennis court that wasn't well used. So, you know, the question of the value of a tennis court is something we haven't investigated. So at this point, based on today's discussions, I think it's a little premature to put forward something that just needs a little bit more work. And an understanding that although partnerships are a great thing, and we would like to pursue partnerships, what they're proposing we haven't really vetted appropriately, so it may be premature for this. So we do have more information today that I think would tend to want us to sort of step back maybe and have a more serious look at this. And maybe the fields have to be addressed first before you do a gateway entrance, because a gateway entrance to nothing is kind of, so that's sort of where we are today. We were, you know, concerned at saying go ahead with an application without you guys being aware of it. It's, you know, morphing into a little more information for us at this point. So I don't know if that's maybe the best bang for our buck today. The other two features, certainly, you know, the one for the parking lot, we, you know, of course we want to apply for funding when funding's available, and we would try to do it in phases, and that, you know, certainly follows through with your plan for downtown beautification. So it's before you tonight because we had them included in the budget, and, you know, maybe that one is not appropriate. So we just want to get a feel from council.
Thank you. I see Councillor Rayner has a comment.
Thank you. The lady that was part of this project, we had a long chat today with regards to this, and the feeling was that financially they were hoping the township could contribute a lot towards it, and that what the township might not be able to entirely afford, they would be able to help out to make this project work. So my thoughts from this was that they have an idea, they want to contribute to the community, they want to have something that people can use and provide more activities for the kids and stuff like that too. But they also need a financial commitment from the township in order to proceed. She did not have any idea of the costs, and through you, Madam Chair, to Mr. Treble, do you have any concept at this point of dollar-wise what this might even be looking at?
Through you, Madam Chair, just to clarify, we are talking the one on Smithville Road still, right?
We're talking, this was a Christian high school that
Yes.
contacted.
So I know there's a couple of quotes that I've seen come via Mrs. Bergsma. One was for 36,000 and something for the asphalt and all of that kind of work for the tennis courts, and the other was 30-some thousand as well for the fencing and all of that would be required for that particular structure. If I understood correctly, she's talking three tennis, what do you call them? Three tennis areas? Courts?
Yeah,
Courts.
Yeah.
Forgive me, tennis isn't my game.
I can't believe it.
So 3 tennis courts, which obviously we're talking a fair-sized construction here. So then Carolyn was on the line when we were talking this through. She threw in aggregate, and there were 2 other things that she threw into that mix, and she was up to 150,000 in her mind for the construction of that particular project.
Well, something else.
You still have the floor, Councillor Rayner, and then
Thank you.
Councillor Dell's got it
Yeah,
next.
she also mentioned that she would get in touch with local businesses, including aggregate, and hope that a lot of the stuff towards this project, since it would benefit everybody in the community, she feels, they would be able to donate some of the material necessary in order to see this project going. So it was kind of a combination of three things. One, how much can the township come up with? How much can we get in donations to make it? And whatever's left over, hopefully the school will be able to finish that, but that's kind of hoping that that last resort doesn't happen. They were just wanting to donate the area and to be able to contribute to the community to keep kids busy. So that was kind of the direction I got from this whole thing. But it was so vague, and it was so in the preliminary stages that I agree with Carol. I think it's very premature, but it's just something I guess we can think about. That's all I got.
Councillor Bell?
Yeah, the conversation has been much the same for the last 6 months or more about this project when it first come to light. I'm in agreement with it. I don't have a problem with it, but I think that one of the things that has to happen, because it's so vague out there, that they need to have a meeting with the building department, Public Works, whoever's involved needs to sit down with this and have that frank discussion. A, what is it you're really looking for? Because we're hearing the entranceway, but now it's involves more. It's almost like, well, you guys build it and we'll try to help you as much as we can. It's kind of one of those. Yet, the same token, it was indicated that they have great support from within and some big contributors. Again, it was vague, so I think that one of the first steps is a meeting needs to be set up so that it can be discussed wholly and not just in bits and pieces, so that everybody can walk away from the table saying, okay, we know where you're going, and we can look at making a commitment to them. I would like to say, yes, let's make that commitment to them, but not knowing. I mean, we've gone from 30,000 to 150,000 plus, and we don't know, so it's pretty hard to make a commitment. I'd like to see the meeting happen and bring it back, for sure, and see what we can do. I know there's unfortunately, a time restraint, and I'm almost of the belief right now that this probably wouldn't even happen until next year, 2019. In all honesty, by the time you get everything lined up and et cetera, and that would be a commitment that I'd be more than willing to make to them, that, yeah, moving forward, yes, let's make sure we're ready to go for 2019 and line up our ducks this year. And that would free up some of that money to do these other projects. CIBC is a good one. We want to enhance our downtown, so let's continue with that for sure. But at the same token, let's make a commitment to this project and say, yeah, let's do it. So, anyway, that's just my comments.
Thank you. Councillor Gannon?
Thank you. I'd just like to sort of speak to that again. I've also had conversations with Mrs. Bergsma, and I think it's a really good idea to partner with various agencies in the community, and partnering with the school is certainly an ideal thing to think about. I agree, though, fully, that they're not really ready to move forward. I think they have wonderful ideas. I think they have probably done a great deal of brainstorming and coming up with, and if we do this much, then we can add this, and we can easily make it look like this. And I think that is ideal. A lot of good ideas come out of that. In terms of looking at what you're asking for tonight, I don't think we're ready to put that application forward. I think that we need to focus on what we know can happen in 2018, especially since the timeline is so short. I would agree with Councillor Bell that 2019 is probably more realistic, and maybe even beyond that by the time they're ready to do what they would like to do. I think they need to come up with a more detailed plan, and I agree that they need to work with the various agencies that need to be involved, and they need some commitments from the people who've said, yes, I will provide, and then we know where our part will fit. Right now, it's a lot of vague questions and no answers. But I don't want to discredit the idea. I think the idea of partnering and doing something together is fabulous. I think it's wonderful that they've come up with it. I think that they have wonderful thoughts about what the community can look like and how much the community can get out of it. So I don't want to in any way sound negative about that. I just think that the timing is not right, so. But I hate the CIBC parking lot. I've mentioned that on other occasions, so. But further to that, by the way, 3 parking spaces, many of those parking spaces are used by not necessarily people visiting the downtown core, but some of the residents, even though they have additional parking of their own at various times. And as well as that, sometimes some of those parking spaces are used by employees, and that's not what that parking was meant for either. So losing 3 spots is not as sad as it sounds.
The apartment people, what I was just going to say, the apartment people, I think, are supposed to be down there.
Yes, supposed to be.
Do you like walking for a bus?
Which isn't changing with this concept.
No, I agree it's not officially changing. I'm
Yeah.
just saying,
Yeah.
I just want you to know I go to the CIBC regularly, and I pull into the parking spot, and I use it. So lots of times it's full in there. So I'm only saying that because I think that's where I'm supposed to park. And it's sometimes full. So 3 spots missing means that people park silly. So Councillor Trombetta is right after Councillor Bilsma. Sorry.
Okay, so back to the
The Christian High School.
yeah. I'm, how do you speak against, kind of it's all nice and tennis courts are great and all that. But, this council has spent $23 million on the MERS, which there was lots of consultation and a lot of discussion about it, and they did public consultations, and tennis courts didn't come up. Skate park and splash pad were higher priorities, and we've kind of, in that sense, put a lot of eggs, a lot of dough in that basket. And then just to think, like, I think we have to be realistic here. We've kind of spent the budget. We got a really nice MERS. I think we have to kind of be content to say that was our stab at public recreation for the municipality of West Lincoln for quite some time. We haven't even finished it, and and nobody wants to be the bearer of bad news or the grump or the guy that says, okay, party's over. But I think somebody should say that this council has spent a copious amount of money making sure that the residents of this community have places to hang out, nice places to hang out. And we chose to do that all at the site in the middle of town. This is another site. If they want to get private partnerships and do that, that's great. But I think from the municipal point of view, I think we've done our bit, and we have to pay for the MERS, and we've got a 5% increase coming up in the budget slated, and this year, and then is it next year still yet? I'm a little bit off, but regardless, that's my feelings. We've done enough, so just wanted to get that on there. Don't want to be Johnny Raincloud here, but that's kind of where I'm thinking. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Bilsma. Councillor Trombetta.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Just want to clarify. I know Councillor Ganam mentioned about losing the spaces is not a big deal. Just no offense, Councillor Ganam, but I was there the process when we lost the spaces when we did the downtown core, and it was a big uproar about losing spaces. So I hope that we can find. That's when we first came into council, and there was a big. A lot of members of the public were here about the spaces that were lost in the downtown core. So I just hope that we can, if this does in the future, we can make up spaces. I don't want to see any spaces get lost in the near future because it was a big deal for this community of losing spaces in the downtown core. Just wanted to bring that point up. Thank you.
Mayor Joyner.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to rise and speak in favor of the project at the CIBC parking lot. For many years, I've felt that there should be something more to that center core there, and I really like the drawings that Khaldun has put forward. I thought there was a lot of thought into it. So I would be in favor of going forward with two applications, one being the Heritage mural in the Murgatroyd Parkette. I believe that's where it is, correct, Mr. Borma? And also an application for the CIBC parking lot. Thank you.
I think most of everything has been said here. I like the idea of partnerships, but I do think that the other two projects are maybe not totally advanced, and they do have to have tweaking done to them, but they are in a far better concept position, and perhaps can be quantified in numbers faster than the third one. So if we are going to do this, when we do the third one, let's make sure that we've got everything nailed down so nobody says we didn't think about it fast enough, thorough enough. So I'd like to see them all go in their right time, and this isn't the right time for all three. So that one didn't need a motion, but you failed because it's now past 11. So anyway, next, sir, it is Carezzo's update.
This is a quick update, Madam Chair. I think most of you have maybe heard by now anyway. The court heard the matter of the unopened road allowance through the Carezzo's property,
Right.
the straight-through extension of South Grimsby 6, that we had been dealing with them on since the transmission line issue. The judge, we actually, according to Sarah, had probably one of the better judges that we could have had, one that understood some of the planning and legal kind of angles of things. So he as much as said from the get-go, not in these words, but effectively Sarah was hearing, don't say a whole lot, Ms. Premi. I get your side of the argument. I need to hear from you. And it was the other side. In the end, he concluded that the road was ours, as much as they had stall tactics to suggest that there was no reason for it anymore, so we shouldn't be proceeding, we shouldn't be having these discussions. The chair said it's ours, and it's ridiculous that this process went this long and this far, and how much do you want in the way of money, township, to offset your costs? And he awarded us $12,000 for our costs. So it's done. A little late, but it's done.
Well, thank you very much for that update, Mr. Treble. That's great. A high note to go out on. Now we just need to collect it. Okay. Members of committee, and since I started that way once, Councillor Rayner, we'll let you go first. You got any other business matters of an informative nature that you wish to bring forward at this time? Okay. Councillor Trombetta.
No, Madam Chair, I think their control is full.
Well, the mayor's got his hand up, so I think there's a few. Councillor Trombetta. Pardon me, Mayor Joyner.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to talk about four things, actually. I'll be very, very quick, very quick. Tomorrow is Shrove Tuesday, so there is
We're going to your house for pancakes?
No,
Oh.
St. Luke's Anglican Church is having Shrove Tuesday, annual, what do you call those? Pancakes.
Pancakes.
And also, there's a big do that's happening out in Silverdale tomorrow, and that's an appreciation and a fundraiser for the Gleaners. I believe that's at the Silverdale Community Hall tomorrow night too as well, between 5 and 7 o'clock. Somebody check that out for me. And the third thing is that February 19th, from approximately 8 in the morning until 5 in the afternoon, is our local family day at the West Lincoln Arena. Lots of activities going on there all day long. And the next thing I want to talk about is on February 24th, starting at 4 p.m. from Grimsby Secondary School. That is the night that we walk for the coldest night of the year, and that's a 2, 5, and 10-kilometer walk. Our team name is West Lincoln Tooks Naturally. And we're looking for people to sign up on our team. I want to thank Councillor Gunan. I know that she's already signed up. So rest of council, if you could join us, that would be great. Thank you.
I understand Councillor Gannon is going to be the chili judge.
Oh, Yes, yes, I was going to let her.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, it's just that I think that's really great.
Why?
Because I didn't want to be the chili judge. That's right. So no offense to anyone, but I'm very happy to hear that West Lincoln is supplying a judge and that Councillor Ganan's picked up the cross on that one. Councillor Ganan, maybe you can talk about it. I bought a bottle of Tums for you. And
But I think we do need to clarify. I assumed that the St. Anne's for the Gleaners, I thought it was St. Anne's Church, but I could be wrong about that too. I could be wrong too. Anyway.
Okay,
that's
we'll
certainly
clarify
in
that.
support of the Gleaners than it is tomorrow.
Anyway, by the time this hits the YouTube, it'll be long
It'll
gone.
be
so-
over, so, but it is to support the Gleaners.
so if you go to St. Anne's in Silverdale, or pardon me, if you go to Silverdale and it's not there, go back to St. Anne's, which is not in Silverdale. But we are all appreciative of the Gleaners. Okay, Councillor Ganan, you're on the team. You're looking for people to join you. Okay, next, Councillor Bismarck.
I'm done. Good.
Good. And you're done too? Then, unless any of you have anything more to say, we give you lots of opportunity in your reports. So if you've got more to say. Well, they're very good people. Thank you so much to the staff who's so incredibly patient and enduring of our meetings. Thank you so much. Joanne and our CAO, is there anything more that wants to be said? Great. There's a little bit of a slippy slidey out there tonight, so be careful on your walk back to the car. And seeing nothing else, there's no items of new business. I haven't been advised by members of council that there is. There's no confidential matters, so I declare this meeting adjourned at 11:17. Thank you very much. Have a safe trip home.
What's that? Oh, yes, thank you.